All right. I think we're live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Great Minds Drink Alike, where I invite really cool people and guests to share their stories, their strategies, their recipes for success. And, then I have people like Mike. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Every time I say that, I'm just like, Mike, the other Mike, who we got Mike and Mike said, it's a wonder why we are having a hard time getting people on the podcast. Anyway, because I'm just my charming, warm personality. Anyway, so I think most of the people know you, Mike, but it's Mike Michalowicz. We're going to be talking about his new book, Clockwork, which is the revised and expanded edition of it. I'm going to ask him about that. It's great. It's actually a really good book. It's like level 1 author kind of.
You're just slamming me. Did you see my name? I see you also changed my name too on the screen.
Did I?
Yeah, look at it.
Oh, the big dude. I did not change your name to the big dude.
You did.
No, that's not
awesome.
me. That's Karen.
It's like the meanest podcast ever.
It's terrible. Well, we're drinking. And so that's what we're here to do. We're here to drink. And so, find the comment section if you haven't passed out already. And, tell me what you're drinking. Tell me where you're listening in from. I know we stream this in a couple different places. Tell me what you're drinking. And while you're there, make sure you find the buttons to subscribe and like, tell your friends. I'm sure there's tens of people listening to this. I'm telling you right now, it's hot. Okay. Anyway, and look what I'm drinking. I actually got this out. I haven't had this in like forever. Do you remember this?
Oh my gosh, yes, that was awesome.
Yeah. So what was funny is I don't even know how we got started on. I think it was on Facebook. You posted something about Camus or. Yeah. I don't know. There was some douchey thing you posted about the best.
Yeah, I'm like, look at how good I am or cool I am. I showed my Camus. My $80 bottle of wine to impress you.
And I was impressed. I was very impressed. And then you came over the house. Remember, we used to do this thing called Wizards. So like the people watching don't remember this. I call it Wizard Circle. I had to call it something because Megan, who works for me, used to call it my fancy friends. Did you know that? No?
I call it the gathering of egos. That's what I call it.
Exactly. And so we had that, and then I had everyone over the house, and and I had you drink this. And what's cool about this Cooper and Thief is that it's aged in bourbon and whiskey barrels. So it's really kind of stout. It's not one of those things that it's not like a light kind of wine. But anyway, so what are you drinking, by the way?
You're gonna bust my chops even further. Yeah, and because it's Shredtober. And I thought you would know this. Shredtober is all about getting jacked up and not taking in the calories of alcohol. But next month I'll start up again.
Okay. All right. Well, what I look at. Mike, what are you drinking? Are you drinking anything? Am I the only one? I'm the only lush that's on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got an old fashioned here.
Oh, that's good.
Speaking of bourbon.
That's a good bourbon.
Okay.
Which bourbon did you pour?
I had a Basil Hayden, but it's in like toasted barrels, so it's a little bit different.
Nice.
Okay. All right. And your water is in what?
This is really horrible. It's in a Joe tea, black tea, but it's just water.
It's just water. Yeah. You could. Yeah, well, it could be pure vodka. We don't know.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know me.
Sure. Okay. So, most people who know you or know me, know you. And I mean, I've had you speak at our events a lot. You're always a popular speaker at Producers Club, and what's cool about you is you come out with new books all the time. You know what I mean? Like you come out so let me think about this. The first book I read that you wrote was The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur.
Oh, you read that?
Yeah.
You're
that
the
was
person? I knew someone.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I read that. I got it.
Is it in that library of yours? I remember. So,
Somewhere.
Mike, we toured Robin's house, and she has that really cool library. It's one of my favorite features of your home.
She still doesn't know we did that, so let's keep that on the down low. Yeah.
So we go there, and she's like, "Oh, I have all my favorite books here," and there's like thousands. I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I start going through them. 4 hours later, tears pouring down my face on the 1,000th book. None of mine were there.
That's because yours are back here. This is like my private life.
Okay.
See, I know I've got it here somewhere. Well, see, what you can't see is over here is like a whole nother big, huge stack of books. But no, Toilet Paper Entrepreneur is in there for sure. It's down in that library.
Flattered.
I know it is because
Thank
it was like it was literally the first book I read that you wrote. Thought it was hilarious. And then you did The Pumpkin Plan, which was also awesome. And then you did Profit First. And I've had you speak Pumpkin Plan twice on that, Profit First, I think twice on that. Yeah. You've got Clockwork now, right? So Pumpkin Plan, Profit First, Clockwork, and this is like the new edition. Like you released it and then you re-released it. And you did more than, I think, just like update the front cover,
it's 60% new content. It was a big rewrite for me.
Yeah. So I guess just so if someone doesn't know who you are, can you give me a quick thumbnail? Like, who the hell are you, an author? Because you're really not an author. You are an author, but like you started out running businesses, right?
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about that.
So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I was in the IT industry when we called it IT. I was a VAR when we called it VAR.
There's still some VARs around. They're probably.
Or I don't even understand like what the difference is, honestly, because we did all the break fix stuff. We did the remote support.
Yeah.
I sold that to private equity, and they got acquired by a roll up. They're about to sell their revenues approaching $1 billion. So I should have stayed with that. But I sold it to private equity. I then started a forensics business. We did computer crime investigation, and
really?
We.
I didn't know you did that. Like, what do you mean? I didn't know you. I knew about the IT business you had, but I didn't know you did forensics.
2.5 years, yeah. So the Enron trial, we were one of the lead investigators for the defense. Now, the prosecution's the FBI, the CIA, but then there's the defense team, and Kenneth Lay, Andrew Fastow were actually clients of mine. Christy Brinkley, when she got divorced from a guy named Peter Cook, that was our case. We did the investigation. Sadly, some of the biggest murder cases in U.S. history, where there's forensic evidence at the time, we were involved in some of those cases on defense side. Now, we don't make, all we do is produce the evidence, or did, give it to the defense attorneys, and then they would say, okay, this is what we have to deal with. In most cases, our clients were guilty. But it was interesting. 2.5 years into that, we were on a $7 million run, pure bootstrap. There was no, venture capital or anything. We were acquired by Robert Half International. It's a Fortune 500. And then today I own 2 companies. The majority shareholder in 2 companies, and I have 4 more partner deals where I have phantom equity in 4 businesses. So I have collectively 6 businesses.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to start another one too.
So you sold the 2, but you sold and then you sold again. And then you went through a period, didn't you invest in a bunch of businesses and you like kind of lost everything?
Yeah, I try to skip that part, Robin. Yeah.
Let's talk about your failures.
So listen, after you sell a couple companies, all your friends are like, oh, you should be an angel investor, because that's what you do. So I'm like, I'm going to be an angel investor. So I took my money and decided to start investing in all these different businesses. I invested in about 10 different companies. They weren't complementary industries. They were all disparate. I had no clue what I was doing. I've never been an investor before, but my ego was so big because I'm like, I can sell businesses. I can build them. I'll just replicate that. Effing failure. Like, all of them collapsed. And it wasn't the entrepreneurs. It was me, I realized in retrospect. And I wiped out all my funds. That actually triggered my author journey. I'll never forget my darkest day. I was boozing real hard that day. We lost our house, not because of bankruptcy, but because my accountant said you have to liquidate remaining assets to cover your tax bill so you can declare bankruptcy, or you got to get out of Dodge effectively. I chose that option because I didn't think my creditors were responsible for my F-ups. So we lost our house. Friends of ours lent us their house. They're going on a sabbatical. They said, you can stay there for the next year as you get grounded again. And it wasn't like, just to give context, it wasn't like I woke up that morning and said, oh, great, now I can have a fresh start. I started to booze hard. That's why I don't drink. I still drink, but I don't drink too often. And I decided that I had to reinvestigate everything about entrepreneurship. I thought I knew everything, and I realized I knew nothing. And today, maybe I know 1%. People ask me, why do you read so many books? I'm panicked to learn how entrepreneurship works before it's too late. So I'm just thirsty to learn as much as I can. And then whatever I discover, I feel compelled to share with others.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted you to talk about that, because I think sometimes everyone thinks, oh, golden child, knows how to write, knows how to do this so good. That's not me because I suck and I can't, So I think it's important that sometimes out of the toughest times and things that you have, that, that's where, your breakthroughs come in. So, cause like you just decided to be an author, like tell me why you decided, like, where did you wake up and say, I'm going to just write a book? I mean, like, that seems like, cause your background wasn't like, well, I was in a publishing company or, like, so how?
Yeah. So I always, and still do, I love books. I think dollar for dollar, there's no greater value on this planet. There's a sad story though, or sad joke, I should say, in Europe. They say, how do you keep a secret from an American? The punchline is you put it in a book. And I wanted to change that. I think for some folks, for myself too, books aren't that accessible. They pontificate, they're very cerebral, and they lose me. I wanted something that felt like there was someone's arm over my shoulder. And that's just my style. So I loved books, but I wanted to write it from an angle where you're going one-on-one through this experience. The other thing was, there's always little traumas in life, right? And sometimes it's these little ones, itty bitty ones that stick out, a little needle to the eye kind of thing. Mrs. Strucko, my English teacher, gave me a D in English, and she says, "You're one of the worst writers I've ever met." And I'm like, it's time to get back, Mrs. Strucko. So I also felt compelled to kind of resolve that. And I'm saying in jest, but it's also serious. Like I have something to prove through my work, I guess.
Yeah, that's what Barbara Corcoran always says when she looks for in an entrepreneur, from Shark Tank. Barbara, she's like, I'm always looking for somebody. She's like, I invest in people who have like some like their nose to grind or some kind of like
they're axe to grind.
And they are like, they're like pissed off about something or someone, or they're trying to prove something. She's like, those are the people you want, right? You know what I mean? So.
Oh, totally relentless. You and I have had some great conversations, and I know enough about your backstory. I'm like, oh, F and A, no one stopped. Like, no one's going to stop you. And I get why now. No one's going to stop you. You're unstoppable. There's a saying, bet on the jockey, not the horse. And when we look at businesses, I've had the privilege now of talking with so many, it's inevitably these people that got a bug up their butt, or there's just some kind of thing they have to reconcile in their life that isn't really reconcilable. It's not like they'll get to a level. Like when I wrote my first book, it wasn't like, oh, I've gotten there now. Every time I write a book, I actually feel I'm further away from the destination. It's the weirdest sensation. I have this greater, almost anxiety, but hopefully channeled anxiety to produce more and produce better.
Right. So, I want to ask you about this book, but what I want to do is talk to you about writing, because a lot of the people who follow me are trying to write to influence, and whether they're writing an email or they're writing a blog post or they're writing a book, right? So, you started out in the tech industry, and not as a writer, and getting, bad grades in literature, English, whatever. And so like now that you've you're obviously you've written multiple best-selling books, so which is totally cool. And you do. I mean, I joke with you a lot, but I mean, you have an excellent style of communication. So I won't even just say writing, because even when you're on stage,
thank you.
You just have a way of communicating an idea in a way that's interesting, engaging, and that really allows somebody to embrace it and use it, right? So so talk a little bit about, like, if the people were listening and they want to write, even if they start with blog posts, like, how do I write a good blog post? Like, what's the process you do to come up with these ideas and to write the way you do?
Yeah. So a couple components. One is storytelling is absolutely critical. And the reason is that has the stickiest power. So when we translate words into images, the more vivid the story, the more stickiness we have. So tell stories and give it identity in life. And the interesting thing is, we can tell the same facts that have been told a million times ago. Profit First is my most popular book, and it's admittedly not anything new. It's the envelope system. It's the pay yourself first principle. These are all principles that have been around. I simply applied it to business, and I did it in a new voice. The pumpkin plan is the Pareto principle, but it's told in a new voice. So that voice and the way you tell your stories are very important. The second part about writing is, this is from the book On Writing Well by William Zeller, I think his name is. But the opening line says, the essence of writing is rewriting. My God, that is it. writing effectively is not a one-time through, there's that email, I got it, let's send it out. It's on the 15th time through that one email that it hits perfection. And the amplitude of benefit is magnificent. You send out a crappy email, no one will pay attention, but you write an email that people feel transformed, they get goosebumps, there's emotion connected with it, they're going to keep reading, and then they'll take the action that you persuade them to take. But that happens on like that 15th cycle. So keep writing. And the last thing is less is more. And that's true in books and so forth. Usually a first manuscript, coincidentally, I'm working on, surprise, surprise, a new book right now. I just had to submit today a chapter to my publisher. The first manuscript I write for a book is usually 300 to 350 pages of shit, of freaking shit. And then I got to start chopping it down. Once you start killing your darlings, that's when you're getting pretty close to a good communication, a good message. So just keep cutting.
Okay. So, but how do you know what to write about? Because I mean, you take something like running a business, right? And you seem to have the ability to say, that's the topic I'm going to write about. Because you can write about anything, right? How do you know what to write about?
So I asked my readers. So the first one, I had no readers. I wrote for something that I think would have served me when I was starting my first business. But the second I got readers, I started being really inquisitive. I ask all the time, what do you need now? And I look for a common thread. I mean, I'm in a really fortunate or atypical position. I have a communication from a reader probably every 10 or 15 minutes. I'm around the clock. I get messages. So I encourage my readers to reach out to me, even in my books. I'm like, here's my email. And it's a platform for me to say, what do you need now? And I look for these common threads. I'll tell you the most common thread right now is, how do I get good people? I can't find people. We're going into recession. I'm trying to build a team and there's this constant churn. I can't keep people. I can't grow people. What do I do? So I've been spending a lot of time investigating, and I think I found something really unique on how to recruit great people. And that will be my next book coming out 2023.
Okay. So it sounds like you're saying take a common problem and then write it in a way with a fresh viewpoint or an interesting viewpoint. But, you know, again, I think people have a really hard time with this. They so when you wrote your first book, I mean, now you have it down to a process, right?
Oh, totally.
But if someone's a brand new writer, what do you recommend they do? I mean, where do they start? How do they learn to write?
I guess how I would get started, I mean, I would start off with a choice. Are you a writer or are you an author? And I really see this as two different things. For me, authorship is a career. Yes, I own businesses, but I have a president for each company. I'm not necessary for those businesses. I do two things. I do write books, and I'm a spokesperson for the businesses because I enjoy that, but I don't operate the businesses. And I can leave for extended periods without any consequence to the business, minus the speaking work I do. But the first thing is making that choice. Do you want to be an author? And what I define an author is someone that not just writes a book, but creates the idea and then is a promoter of the idea, spreads the word on that. An author is seeing your book as a physical product. And what I consider it, it's like next time you go to a supermarket and you go down the stupid cereal aisle and there's like 1,000 different cereals, Captain Crunch, Captain Munch, Captain Bunch. Like, I don't even know what the hell's going on. I just want my freaking cereal. I can't find it. That's nothing compared to the number of books that come out every year or every day. Like a cereal aisle has, I don't know, 50 cereals. If that was books, the entire supermarket would be books stacked from floor to ceiling. And there'd have to be 5 supermarkets to contain just 1 year's release of books. So you have to be an extraordinary promoter of your idea. So are you going to devote to being an author, or are you going to write a book? And writing a book's cool too. Writing a book, though, typically positions you as an authority to an established community. I mean, you're going to people you already know and say, hey, I wrote about this. And it increases your credibility. Being an author exposes you to a community that's never heard of you. It's that breaking point to access people because there's word of mouth. People are talking about it, and it brings opportunity to you. Just to give context, at one of the Wizard meetings, I think you guys were talking about like what's the cost to acquisition, whatever the 3-letter acronym was. You know, I pay $5 to get a prospect. I pay $15, and I don't know if I said it out loud, but my thought was, oh, I make $3.50 per prospect. My lead flow, 99% of it is from books. We don't run ads or any of that stuff, and we get, I think, 16 or 17 leads a day just in one business alone. probably across all the businesses and platforms, we have probably about 40 to 50 leads a day just through book sales, and we're generating revenue from it. So it can serve you that way, but you got to be committed to being an author and then follow that journey.
Yeah. Well, and 100%. I mean, that's why I was joking. I always forget, is level 1 the bottom or the top? I can't remember.
So I got to give context. So at least this is how I heard me say it, but it came across as total big douchey comment. So we're sitting there, and then I'm talking, I wanted to have this networking group with authors. And like it's Robin or someone's like, do you want to talk with so-and-so? And I did this awkward pause. I made a mopey face. And I said, I'm really trying to hang out with tier 1 authors.
Tier 1. Yeah.
Tier 1. I want to hang out tier 1, like Don Miller and the, all these, James Clear. I want to be in that group because I want to escalate to that group. Well, by saying that douchey comment, instantly I became the tier 1 guy. I'm not willing to network or be with anyone else. And I came across as the biggest douche ever. Because I was thinking so what's the bot? Is tier 10 then the worst? Or do you don't even get to be like I guess I could never understand. Tier 1 seems like what's below a tier 1 then?
Well, I'm at tier 17.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because whatever that's where I'm at, because I've never written one. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out if you're tier 1, I think, is that like a technical term? I'm dead serious. Is that like a technical term? No, it's not a technical term.
So I have my own, I should have said like top tier authors. So I feel there are 3 primary levels of authorships in relation to books. So a tier 1 author is where you say a name, Tim Ferriss, where you say a book, 4-hour work week, and you know them interchangeably. Tier 2 is where you know maybe the book title, Profit First, but you're like, I don't know who wrote that. And tier 3 are books that just aren't, there isn't an awareness. These are books that are published. So I consider myself to have entered the 2nd tier, and I'm trying to get to the 3rd tier, the highest tier. It's like, if you want to improve at a sport, hang out with people that are playing at the highest level, and you have to elevate. So I'm trying to hang out with the tier 1s. That's how I define.
Okay. So tier 3 is the highest.
Jesus Christ.
No.
Tier 3 is the lowest.
It doesn't make sense though, because it should be. It's the other way around. I can't get it in my head. Can you write a book about this?
I got a D in English. I got a D in math, Robin. What else do you want to know?
I mean,
this is the stupidest podcast ever.
I don't get it. Wait a minute, Mike. Okay. So, okay.
He does the golf method, Robin. It's like the lowest score wins.
Right, it's the golf method.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
It's a thing.
Okay. All right.
I think the funny part.
When I had a special education class, my teacher would always cover for me. I would say something's totally asinine, and she would say, what he really means is the golf method. So thank you.
It doesn't make, all right.
It doesn't make sense. I want to be somewhere that I'm not. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, yeah. Okay. So, I mean, but so what do you think I think you are one of the top authors. I mean, when you look at, seriously, but when you look at business books, so you also have to take it within a category too, because if you get, fiction books, that's a whole different kind of thing, and when you're talking about business books, so I mean, I
don't consider myself, so I did form a group, and I'll give some context. So I don't know if you know Don Miller, but he's down your way.
Yeah.
So Don Miller, James Clear, he's Atomic Habits.
I know.
I'm not trying to name drop here, but Ryan Holiday was in there. John Gordon, who wrote Energy Bus. We all got together, and all of them knew each other. And there was one guy no one knew. It was me, but I was the guy who facilitated it. I'm the one who organized it. So I was invited to the club, and that's who I'm trying to hang out with. And it was ridiculously good knowledge.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, again, I think the distinction, I think is important though. I mean, I don't consider myself an author 100%, right? I'm not confused about that. I do consider myself a copywriter. So that's a little different. So I write copy for, sales letters and, scripts and emails and influence and so forth like that. But so, I think if there's someone who's wanting to be an author, is it possible for somebody to be an author? I mean, you have to it seems like you have to pick a pretty generic topic. You know what I mean? When I say generic, I mean something that could appeal to all businesses. If I wrote a book for MSP marketing, I mean, I don't know. I've heard there's 144,000 MSPs worldwide. I think it's more like 55 or 60,000,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I'm ever gonna, write about. So what, when you decide to be an author, you saw the whole business plan behind it, which I think is interesting, right? Because, and I don't know if you want to talk about this.
Sure. Yeah, I'll tell you the whole model.
Because I think this is really, really smart. And I don't know that there's many authors who have figured this piece out.
Yeah, which is surprising to me. So yeah, I'll reveal it now. Maybe
talk a little bit. Yeah, I think this is
so. Step one is, yes, speak to a broad topic, but with the caveat that the reader feels they're a sole island, that they're the only one afflicted by that problem.
Mm-hmm.
So profit's a perfect example in that almost every business, I shouldn't say almost every business, it's over 80% of businesses struggle with profitability. The stats around 83% of businesses are check to check.
And what's funny? I just ran these stats like in my list, not just my clients. 83% are not profitable by definition of what we consider a profitable MSP.
Oh, was it really? There you go.
83, it was 8. When you said that, I was like, holy shit. That's
holy
crazy.
Shit, 83%. Yeah. So US Bank did a study, SBA backed it. It's consistent. And what they mean not profitable is it's check to check survival. Business owner doesn't pay themselves a reasonable salary. It's hand to mouth.
Right.
And they're constantly this way. They can be in business for 20 years and they're still living like this. And so most business, there's 32 million small businesses in the US now. 83%, so that's 25 million, are in this scenario, but they all feel that they're only one that way. So that's the perfect topic.
Mm-hmm.
Huge community, but I'm the only one. That's how I feel. So if you can write a book that speaks to that, that's step one.
Mm-hmm.
Step two is the solution. And this is my secret formula, is I call it DOI times EOI times SOI. So my books have to have a big DOI, degree of impact. So the more impactful, the better the outcome, the more likely you're to leverage the techniques of the book and then share it. But then it also has to have SOI, which is the speed of implementation. Can I get this thing done fast? It's the pill. If I told you, you can have the perfect body you want, you can transform yourself, that's massive degree of impact. It's just going to take you working out for the rest of your life, constantly. The speed of implementation is very long. And the EOI is ease of implementation. So it takes a long time and it's hard to do. That's why most people don't work out.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could say, just take this pill and you'll see results tomorrow, very fast speed, and it's easy, you'll do it. So big degree of impact, fast results, and easy to do. And the more we can pack that in our book, the better. Now, you can't always offer those things, but if you can't get to the end impact right away, can you have big mini impacts and get small steps that give those results? So you have that sense of motion and movement.
So they have wins, like quick wins along the way, keep them engaged, right? Okay.
Yeah. So when I was writing Clockwork, available on Amazon as of today, when I was writing Clockwork, the goal is to have a business that runs itself. That's not going to happen overnight, but we can get small wins. The first smallest win I have people do is I say, stop using the word entrepreneur, because entrepreneur has been bastardized, hustle, grind, work like an animal. Start using the word shareholder. And shareholder is someone that has interest in a business and can give vision and control, vote your way to wherever you want to direct that business to be, just like a shareholder votes for a public company, but you don't have to be integrated into the company. That's a small win. And then, I structure that way.
Okay.
Once you have a book positioned that way, then what I do is I form a business behind it, or more often find a licensee. And, it's big dollars now. It's hundreds of thousands. It didn't start off that way, but for someone to buy a license into my next book, then they also pay a 15% override on the top line of their revenue for life. How I derived this is I studied eMyth, has eMyth International and these different companies. And I interviewed people that went through the experience and found what the perfect number was. The number was too high. These businesses were burdened and they couldn't grow. If the number was too low, the entity couldn't give them the support, the franchise entity, if you will, couldn't give them the support they needed. So 15% was sounded to be the perfect number. Okay. And so today I have 4 operating businesses and a 5th that's coming online in 2024 with my new book release. Okay. That's what I do.
So just like, let's take, for example, profit first. So the book is a marketing engine. You and the book are a marketing engine for the concept. Okay. Correct. The concept being you can actually become profitable, right?
Yep.
And here's the method to doing it, right?
Yep.
And so once they buy into that concept, then the next thing they have to do is, how do I implement it?
Yeah, which is in the book. So that's the other thing I left out. Put everything in your book, which sounds like totally confusing. Why would they ever hire you? Well, 90% of the population are DIYers, regardless if you give it to them or not. They just want to find the way to do it themselves. So I would say 90, probably more % of people that read Profit First do it without any support. And that's great, because if they do it and they're profitable, they become my marketing engine. So you want people doing it themselves because they'll keep talking about it.
And they'll give the books to other people.
Oh my God.
Yeah, 100%. Right,
yeah.
right.
The remaining, say it's 10%, maybe it's 1%. I don't know what it is, but that small percentage, they simply say, I found the authoritative source. So they read the book and consciously or subconsciously said, this is exactly what I needed, but I don't want to do it myself. I want someone else to do it for me. And then they're the ones who engage you. So by giving it all away, you're empowering actually both communities.
Okay. And then, but the way you do it is, then you get leads from the book, and
Correct.
then you direct them to certified bookkeepers,
right, with
CPAs,
professionals. Yeah.
Profit First professionals, right? And they are the ones who then implement it for the people who bought the book, which is, I mean, that to me is just, that's so brilliant, because it's what, you know, we teach our members to, okay, author a book, well, write a book.
Now you're being very particular on your
I
words.
gotta be careful. Level 3.
Drink some more of that wine. Now
level 1. I'm like, I'm not even in a tier. I'm sort of like, you know, I don't know. I'm on a skid somewhere. Anyway. So, you know, but so you write these things to sell a concept, to create authority, to create people who like you. I mean, who go, oh, I love this concept.
Yeah.
And this is the, you know, I love this idea. And then that makes then they come to you for the implementation, right?
That's
and
right.
So most business, like the people that are becoming certified professionals, they're just what they're saying is, I don't want to write a book. I don't want to do public speaking.
That's right.
I want someone to do it for me. Right. So it's kind of interesting. It's a really, really smart model. And I think most authors, they write books. And I know some personally, and I won't name names because they're brilliant. Their books are brilliant. Their concepts are brilliant. They're great speakers, and they have no business behind it. It's like these people,
I know.
You know, they're just like falling into a big black hole. Like they have nowhere to go. Right.
I know. It kills me, because I think it's ultimately of disservice to have a book out there, but without some kind of support structure, because there is a percentage that cannot do it without help for whatever reason. And then we're not offering the help. It's like having it's like telling someone how to do home security, but we're going to avoid the police department in the town. We're just going to get rid of them. There's a certain circumstances where they need that help. So
right, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's just really smart. I mean, I think your business could be going to tier 3 authors. Am I getting it right?
Stop being such a douche. Now you're the big douche. Could you rename yourself?
I can't remember. I'm still like unsure. That whatever level up,
it's the
bigger
worst
tier authors
interview ever,
don't know
Robin.
don't know how to do this model, and doing it for them. That's your next book or your next business. I think that's what you should do.
My next book is called Tier Robin Sucks.
Well, you know, anyway, I got a GED. What do you expect? All right. I mean, you know, please, public education. What do you expect here? I mean, although I do know how to read. So, okay, very cool. So let's talk about your book, Clockwork. You know, design your business to run itself, right? And so the concept obviously is, don't call yourself an entrepreneur, hustle, grind, you know, work week, you know, and honestly, I mean, that's me. I mean, I work. I mean,
yeah. But I think there's a reason why.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, I think so. From my experience, okay, and I'm like, want to know your opinion. My experience, some business owners they don't have productivity problems. They have interest problems. They've lost interest in and maybe because their business is dysfunctional, they're working nights, weekends, they're not profitable, so they're not making any money. They have employee problems, customer problems, profitability problems, and after a while, they're just like, I hate this thing. Like they want to escape, right? They don't want to be in there anymore. So to me, is this book for that person, or is this book for somebody who just wants
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess maybe like, tell me a little bit who the book's for and what it gives them.
Well, I'll say, I think it's for any entrepreneur, and I'll even say why I think it's for you. If you are willing to accept this framing, I believe the number one job of an entrepreneur is not to do the job or any job. The number one job of an entrepreneur is to be a creator of jobs. That's our job, is actually to create jobs. And here's the shaming, I'll throw it your way, but anyone who's doing the job, shame on you, you're stealing a job from someone else that wants to do it. Now, I'll back this with statistical proof. So 14% of the population will ever start a business. So Robin, you and I are one of 14%. But if you look at your kindergarten class of 30 students, that's 4 kids that ever will start a business. Only 20% do it successfully. So now you take that 14 times 20, it's 3%. That's 1 kid from kindergarten ever makes a successful business, and 29 other kids are looking for a job with a good, healthy company. We entrepreneurs who build successful businesses are the outliers. And the rest of the world is clamoring to serve a business like that because it fulfills them. So that's my challenge to you. Now, I also realize there's certain...
And I don't, by the way, I don't disagree. Because like when I read the book, and I did, like I do read your books. I know you don't think I do, but I think, I think the CEO's role, and I think when I started the business, and I still, to a large degree, I work in it as well as on it. But every level that you go up, you've got to find more people who can do the work. So that's actually one of my challenges to myself next year. This year, we did a big rebranding. We did a lot in terms of reorg. And I do agree with that 100%. I do think that I am doing too much in the business, and I'm too much of the queen bee role, the linchpin, all the things that you talk about. Right.
Oh, I agree. But from the outside perception, what little I know about your business, and of course, you're wildly successful. Success does not replace a business that can run itself. So we see some people that are very successful, and we say, well, look at them. Look at Elon Musk or something like that. I mean, isn't that the epitome of success? And I can't speak to his work ethic, but I've heard stories that he works relentlessly in the business. But look at some other shareholders, and those to me are the remarkable business owners, the ultimate contributors to society. And you won't know the names because they simply own the business. But I'll give you context. I was admittedly flying down to Nashville, and I ate at a McDonald's. I eat at McDonald's every so often because it's super convenient, and the food is absolutely consistent. It's the same crappy hamburger wherever you go. Here's the deal. I don't know if it was my Nashville trip, but it was like 4 or 5 years ago. I went to the cashier, and I was just curious about the operation because I was like, wow, the consistency here is so amazing. I said, may I speak with the owner? And the cashier said, oh, the owner's not here. I said, oh, okay. I've done this, I think 50 times now. The owner's never been at a McDonald's. In one case, this is true. I asked the cashier if I could talk to the owner, and she said, oh, they were here about a month ago to pick up the money. To pick up the money. I was like, oh my God, this is it. Now, we all know it's not like the McDonald's owner is sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais and saying, I own McDonald's, I'm crushing it. Maybe, but they're more likely doing strategic planning, more likely meeting with corporate, figuring out how can we scale, what's the new products we can come out with, let's get more locations. They're thinking at that level. Right. I think it's ironic. I don't know if you ever watch a chess match, I don't really watch them, but we all know the guy sitting there, he's rubbing his temples, he's looking down, he's concentrating 4 or 5 minutes of just thinking. And then he makes one piece and we're like, oh my God, that piece you moved, that was unbelievable. But in business, we don't reward that thinking. All that thinking was strategic, all the consideration, what could happen, and said, move this piece, and walked away. But in business, what we do is we herald all the effort, how hard you working, how many hours you got going on, what are you doing? Are you doing this and that? More. We applaud the effort, not the thought. I think it's perverted, and that's what I'm trying to flip in this book.
Yeah. And you give you do walk people through. I mean, you walk them through, do this first, then this, then this. And it's, so again, it is, I mean, I think even if you still want to work, 90 hours a week or whatever you want to do, this, I think, still is critical in this from the standpoint of being able to scale. So even if you want to work 90 hours, this is going to help you scale faster, because I agree with you that Even a lot of the members that I work with, they want to grow, they want to scale. And the number one challenge they always come to me and say is, I can't get marketing done. I can't get it done. I don't have the time. That's the number one thing they'll say to me.
That kills
right?
me.
So the question then is, well, then hire somebody to do it. Right. And they go, well, I don't have the money. And it's just, but I think it's kind of, I'm like, well, then hire a cheap person to take 20% off your plate, right? There's got to be some, there's got to be some things that you could hire an admin that you could be doing that, like delegate that, then take that time and reinvest it in being more productive, being more strategic and stuff like that. So, but I mean, I'm explaining it badly. I mean, guys, read the book because the book is fantastic. Now, the other thing I want to ask you though is, so you wrote the book and then you rewrote. So talk about why the big rewrite? What did you discover? What did you learn? What's different?
Yeah. So once I wrote it, I started getting feedback from readers and I found a couple of points of confusion. One of the pinnacle concepts is this thing called the QBR. It's the essential activity in the business. The number one thing that must happen in the business to keep the business running is the engine. Yet most people don't know what their engine is of their business. They say everything's the engine and therefore nothing is. The second thing I heard was, it was the first reader that wrote this to me. It blew my mind. They said, I love this book, but I have to hide it from my employees because I don't want them thinking it's about me leaving the business, me getting a vacation and working off their sweat. And I'm like, my God, it's not about you leaving the business. It's about you empowering your employees to their highest levels. We need employees engaged in this book. So those were a couple things. There was other things in there too, just how it's structured, how it flows. One of my licensees, the one for Clockwork, we had our 1,000th student go through the process a year ago. And so we have these case studies, some well-documented, other ones were a little more vignettes, but I collected all that evidence and said, okay, there's a new way to structure the book. So the flow, I think, is much better. The engagement of employees is now in the book. And the goal was to amplify that DOI, SOI, EOI, bigger impact, faster and easier.
Okay. And then are you building consultants to help with this then to walk people through this, or what's the back end of this going to be?
The back end for this is just a training organization. We don't have consultants for this one. That's the licensee's choice. So I want my licensee, her name's Adrienne Doris, an amazing organization. It's a multi-million-dollar training business. But that's what we do is we just do training, no consultants. Where on the flip, Prop First Professionals is just certified consultants.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think what would be interesting, and I was just thinking, like, even for my business, is to have at least even my leadership team to read this and have our leadership team go work on it as a group together and say, okay, let's read this chapter. Let's work through it. And I think if you had a consultant, I'm just putting that wish out there. If you had somebody who kind of almost like a traction coach, or if you look at, Rockefeller Habits or something, because sometimes you need that outside person to stand there and sort of, babysit you to do it.
What's interesting too is if your team read that, the challenge I would have for them is how do we get Robin out of the business? And I'm not saying like legally out of the business, just for a period of time. Because when there's someone that's a linchpin of the company, if that person leaves unexpectedly because of disease, problem, health, the whole business potentially will collapse. So we need to prepare for that. An analogy I use in the book is fire drills. Growing up as a kid, the stupid fire alarm would go off in the school. So we all stand up and march out. And you did that like 15, 20 times. And then we actually had a pretty catastrophic fire at our school, but no one got hurt because we knew the drill. The alarm would go off, we leave. So what I challenge every business to do, and we do it here, is everyone goes on an extended leave from the business every year just to make sure that we have redundancy in place.
I think you froze for a second.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think your internet just went down.
And that's the answer to life, by the way. You're welcome.
Yeah. So okay. Well, let me ask you this. Out of like, there's steps by what do you think is the most important chapter in the book, and why?
I think the first chapter the first two, but definitely the first chapter, because it's front loaded.
Okay.
It's a technique of writing books. Give the answer as soon as you can, because sadly, most people don't read books. That's how you keep secrets from Americans. So what I do with my books is try to give the formula as fast as possible. So by chapter 1, you start exploring the formula. Chapter 2, you've got the essence, and everything else after is just to build upon that.
Okay. And what do you think is the hardest? I mean, yeah, maybe implementation, but in all your research with somebody who loves the concept of, even if I'm going to work 90 hours, if I can get my business to be more self-sustaining and run like clockwork, like you're saying, what is the hardest, what are the surprisingly maybe the hardest thing for most people to?
I'll give it to you. It is surprising, and it gives people a heart attack just hearing it. What I mandate is that you leave your business for 4 consecutive weeks. In the book, I call it the 4-week vacation. And people are like, I can't do this. But here's why. If you can leave, any individual can leave their business for 4 consecutive weeks, every element of the business is typically touched on, hiring, firing, new clients, employees. We close out at the end of the month. Everything's touched on usually within these monthly cycles. And therefore, you can leave for 4 weeks, probably can leave into perpetuity. But people read and they get a heart attack. They're like, I could never do that. Like, if you can't do it, the business depends on you. So we need you to do it.
Right.
The punchline is the 4-week vacation is not about you getting a vacation. It's about your business getting a vacation from you. And people struggle with that.
Yeah, I imagine, I think it's as much psychological too, in the sense that, belief systems, but, I think also, if it's funny because right now in our industry, there's a ton of people that are selling their businesses, and what's funny is they sell their business. I've had a couple of phone calls right now where they're calling me and they're having a freak out. They're going, I don't know what to do.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a big problem. I don't know what to do with my life. Yeah.
I mean, for 30 years, I've been getting up every morning, going to work, doing my thing, doing the thing. I don't do that anymore. Like, what do I do? Like, and they're literally, it's like a house cat that's never stepped outside and you just threw them into the woods. They're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I think so there's a psychological component. And I mean, I'm just saying, I think it would be the same.
There is a huge psychological component.
Yeah.
What happens though is the chess match starts. I started doing this for myself religiously 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I do it December 7th to January 7th plus every year. Last year I did 9 weeks off. And what happens is first there's a panic. My ego kicked in the very first time I did this. Like, what do I do with my life? Why is no one emailing me? My God. But when I came back from that first one, my employees said to me, Mike, you said you trusted us and you were leaving for 4 weeks, but you demonstrated that you didn't trust us because you started inserting yourself in the business again. So that was a big awakening for me. It's tough to hear, but it was necessary. The second thing that happened by going through my second and third year of this, I started thinking strategically, and actually just had what I think maybe a powerful epiphany for our business. I'm thinking about the chess moves. And so we are starting a success fee only mastermind where we have these businesses coming in. We're coaching them through using the asset of our tools and some of the partners I have. No fee. We're just going to share in the profitability and growth of the business. And we've now have it all structured up. And that came out of just being on vacation, just letting the thoughts flow, as opposed to living in the moment and trying to write another book or do another presentation.
Yeah. So when you're disconnected, you're not checking email at all, right? So
no, my assistant, her name's Erin, she'll change my password. So I can't get into it, but I don't even want to anymore. The first couple of years I wanted to get in, I don't even care anymore. Yeah. And I rarely even check my own email anymore, which maybe sounds, I don't know, royal of me, but I have someone checking email.
Right.
And I just get flagged about once a week saying, hey, there's something that's specific for you.
Gotcha.
You have to go for that operation for the hemorrhoids you have or something.
Yeah, or naked
Sadly, I
pictures
get those
come in.
emails. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think there's some questions. I want to make sure before we get too long here. Mike, I think I see some pop.
Yeah, we got a couple of questions here. So Sean Wallace, who I suspect is the great grandson of William Wallace, said, what's the best way to create a community? He has that in quotes out of your readers. How do you talk to them?
So I think the first thing is to be unabashedly yourself. I am notably, I'm proud to just be goofy and weird, and I like to bust chops, and I like simple concepts. And so the fact that I'm unabashedly me attracts an audience that says, finally, our dude's arrived. It's not another, pontificator or someone that says, you know, I'm rich, you're not, so you suck, be like me.
Yeah.
Those people have their tribes and those communities that want that, but I was unabashed myself. So I would start off with that. And secondly is love on your readers like they've never been loved on before. There's a reason I engage with so many readers is so that they have personal experience. We're losing that tactile experience. Everything's going virtual. I haven't been to Robin's place in years, trying to invite myself back down. We're losing that tactile experience. So get as close to that with your readers as possible. Just try to have intimate connections with them, as many as possible, which sounds overwhelming, but my God, they'll never forget you. They love that.
Yeah. Well, I think though that people, I mean, honestly, Mike, you know, you are far more engaging, charming, interesting than most people walking around. And so I'm dead serious. I'm not just trying to be this tier 1, I mean, like you're like tier 3 in character and charisma and whatever. I hope that's the right one.
Wow.
Was that right? Was that tier 3 was the best or tier 1?
Yeah, could you stop effing with me, Robin?
Damn it. You're tier 1.
You keep punching me in the nards of my ego.
Anyway, whatever the highest level is. And
tier
so
one, goddammit, tier 1.
I need a chart, right?
You gotta think of it first place, Robin, third place.
I'm going to mail you a chart.
First place. Okay.
I'm going to mail you a chart.
Got it. I got it. I think I got it now. Okay. All right. I'm practicing.
Here, I'll draw it in a way that you'll never forget it, Robin.
Uh-oh.
I have a feeling he's going to draw a penis with like, you know what I mean? Like bigger and like.
Yes, I was. There's tier 1. Okay. This is tier 3 down here. We got to work our way up to tier 1.
I told you he was going to draw a dick.
Put your face right here. And then now you're in tier 1 territory.
Tier 1. Okay. So you're like tier 1 in charm and drawing dick pics. Not everybody is, right? So, I mean, you say be yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, should it be yourself with a little sugar coating or should it be just your, I mean, because some people, I mean, you know, there's some people, you know, in your life, you're like, yeah, you need not to be yourself, right? You need to, you need to kind of.
Yeah. I don't sugarcoat much. Like what I did with that little penis thing, like that's so Mike. When I go home, if my wife saw it, she just roll her eyes and go, here we go again. My friends from college, actually I had this case, someone read one of my books from college, called me. I hadn't been in touch with this person in 25 years and said, I was reading this book. I'm like, it was just like that guy in college. And then I looked at the cover and it was that guy from college.
Oh, wow.
So there's a great book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bonnie. I don't remember her last name. She's tier 1.
What is it? Wait a minute. What's the name of it again?
The 5 Regrets of the Dying.
Okay.
And this is a palliative nurse who was interviewing people as they were on their deathbed and saying, what are your biggest regrets? The number one regret was I was not true to myself. I did not live into my identity. I complied with what others expected of me. That's the number one regret.
Wow.
So F that. Be yourself.
Okay.
Because I don't want to die with regrets. None of us should. And I don't even think sugarcoating it. I think just be yourself. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's a tribe out there looking for you.
Right. Okay, good. All right. Wait a minute. Where were we? We're questions, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We have questions. And I think that point though, like one of my favorite things, like I bought your books, except I actually like your, what would it be? The Audibles a lot better because I think there's your personality comes through. Like it's hard to get as much of your humor and everything out of your books as you do from that. And I don't know if you add extra things or it's just the way you say them, but okay.
And that's a technique too for any authors listening in is do an audio. Audio sales are increasing at a rate faster than any other type of sales. Secondly is by adding in additional content, it feels like a bonus. And so some people will buy the book and the audio. The book is a souvenir, something to keep on the shelf. And then the audio for the extra content. So it seems to increase the variety of sales too.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool.
Well, so with that, let's see, we had just went down. Let's see, we got Brian Butterfield who's saying, in Surge, you wrote that in order to achieve the ultimate in entrepreneurial success, it requires an uncanny ability to spot the next big wave of consumer demand.
Yeah.
So then his question is, given our current economic climate, I'm curious what you think that wave might be.
I forgot you wrote that book, Surge.
So is half the planet or anyone. Yeah. Yeah. That book was my least popular, unfortunately. Actually, it's one I like the most, but it was a theory-based book as opposed to practical application. And what I was studying there was how market demand works, and it's moving waves. There was a time taxis were in demand, and then Uber presents itself. And what people start doing is they start using Uber, and can you get in front of that demand? There's these secondary waves that come off. It's much harder to be the next Uber as opposed to all the ancillary things that are needed around it. A better example may be the rise of electric cars, because that's happening right now. You see more electric cars. Well, that means batteries are important, charging stations, and those are the obvious things. There's probably millions of secondary things where the opportunity is. So what I would do is just look at what are the big trends going on in all industry right now, measure that, and then say, what are the ancillary or secondary waves or ripples are going to come out, and can you place yourself in front of that? I have a friend, his name's Tony Lilios. He invented a company called Spec. You may have heard of them. They make cases for phones. Well, he saw the rise of the Nextel, that flip phone that would beep or whatever, like a Spock communicator. And he saw people were making black cases. He goes, why are all the cases black? People are going to express themselves. He was the first company to make different color cases. Like, it's so obvious now, but then he just saw the demand for cases, but there's no variability. He grew that to, I think, like 50 million, sold it quickly.
Yeah, simple. But yeah, I mean, I think the two things right now, anything you do, if it has to be entertaining and easy. It's like, those are I think that's a culture we're living in. It's got to be entertaining and easy. So, Brian, you're going to have to figure out how to make IT entertaining and easy, which, if you can put those two together, I mean, we were just listening at High Point University. Cobain was showing a little clip of an interview with the CEO of Domino's. And one of the things the way he described the company, he says, we're really a tech company. What did he say, Mike? He said tech company delivering pizza or something like that.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Yeah. And like the thing people love it's a stupid pizza tracker. Like it's an app, and you can see, like, okay, your pizza's being made, the cheese is going on, and it's Bobby is doing that, and now it's being boxed up, and Billy is driving in the car, and you could like literally track your pizza. Oh, it's in the oven, you know what I mean? Like, and people are like sitting there watching their pizza, it's I mean, and you go, well, what the hell does that got to do with pizza? But this day and age, we're overwhelmed with so many choices and options. It's like, we want something to be easy, and we want it to be entertaining. I mean, that's the end of it. Anyway, that's my thought.
Like, who would track their pizza? I mean, I know people are doing this, but like, what's their mind? Hey, Ma, where's the pizza? She's like, I've been watching it for the last hour. It's amazing.
Look, who knows, right? This is like, this is the world we live in. So, there's people, there's their tribe. That's
true. It's good. Good.
Yeah. So, all right, Mike, what else? We have the other Mike.
Yeah,
not tier one Mike, but the other.
Tier 17, Mike. 17, okay. Which Robin either thinks is the best or the worst now. We're not sure.
We're not sure. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like there's any other questions in here, but Lori has a shout out. She says, I can't say enough about Mike's books, especially Profit First. And this is true. Like every meeting that we have, someone's like, I do the Profit First method, like do all this, or read Profit First, or they say the pumpkin plan. I pumpkin planned. It's now a verb.
Pumpkin planned. It's a verb.
Yep. But I can't say enough about Mike's books, especially Profit First. Totally changed the cash flow and profitability in my MSP so much that I've become one of those Profit First professionals. Keep the books coming, Mike.
Yeah, there you go.
You got a deal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm telling you, tier 3 Mike is right, or however I mean, like he's like.
The only tears now are coming down my face. They're starting to well up.
Good Lord. I don't know. I don't know. I think I got it. Anyway, but I think that, our community, like he's right. People talk about pumpkin planning all the time.
I love that.
They talk about Profit First all the time. Did you speak on Clockwork? I don't think we've had you to come speak about Clockwork.
I don't think so. No.
Maybe if you're open to it, maybe like
I'm always open.
Okay, I was gonna say that'd be good at. What do you guys think? If you like it, put it in the chat. But I think like we would have you. We have a Producers Club meeting coming up in January in San Diego, but this year at boot camp we're having 3 sharks do the contest. You know how we do the car giveaway and the spokesperson contest?
Yeah.
Yep. So this year the judges, because you were a judge, you were a judge in it. So
I was an
now,
ineffective judge. I wasn't paying attention.
I know I had to like chase you down. It was crazy. Yeah. But we are having Damon John, Kevin O'Leary, and Robert Herjavec are going to be the 3 judges. So it's like going to be cool. So maybe we should have you there, You want to be the 4th judge?
I love being the 4th judge in between them. And I want to get a picture with all of them.
All right. Very cool. Well, we'll talk, but yeah. All right. Well, look, I know like you've been on for an hour. I want to be respectful of your time. It's been great. What else? I mean, should they go buy? They should go buy the book right away. Right?
Oh, yeah. May I do the ballsy ask? So,
please. Yes, I want you to do that.
Here, everyone listening in right now, thank you for being here at Friday at a late hour, but this is the book. If you're willing, I invite you to get it on Amazon now, not for you, but selfishly for me. So that's why it's a bold ask. This is the launch period right now. It just came out last month. And what happens when there's a surge of demand on Amazon, and that even means like just a dozen books being purchased, the Amazon algorithm starts marketing it because it sees momentum to other entrepreneurs. So if you are willing to buy a copy now, even if you already have bought 1 copy, if you're willing to get another, I'd be honored because it serves me in marketing to more people. So thank you for considering that.
And aren't you speaking at Tech Day? Are you doing that Tech Day, the virtual Tech Day?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So an idea for those of you who are doing the Tech Day, maybe buy a copy. Go right now, buy copies for all your clients and send it to them in advance and say, hey, get on here with the Tech Day. This is one of the people you're going to hear from. That's a really cool way, a gift, give to a client like that. Talk about a big wow showing up like that would be phenomenal. Mike, we'll email out to our list as well. We'll make sure that this, Fridays are like, this is like the only time I have time to do live podcast. Literally, like I was like my days like insane with meetings and stuff. So, but yeah, let's make sure the other tier 3 Mike, we can have him do. Let's do it. Like, let's do a big push for Mike Michalowicz's book. And, what if we did like, can you do a workshop on this? I mean, is that something you can do, or is it?
With my team, if that's cool. Yeah, we have. Yeah, totally. We do a full day session. I do speaking on it, but I have a team that does the workshop. So yeah, hell yeah.
All right, cool. All right. Well, let me think on all this because I know our folks love you. I mean, they do. So, and that's what's cool about you
too. And that's genuine. I've had a chance to meet with quite a few folks. I love you too, Robin. Which is hard to say with all this bastardizing of me that you're doing, but it's true. It is true. You're amazing.
Well, that's what makes me great. I have great people, and there's a lot of truth in that. Just surround yourself with cool people and, you just instantly look better, right? That's the secret to life. But the cool thing is you come up with new books. See, a lot of people, we have them come speak and
they're one and done.
They're done, right?
One and done.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. I'd love to have you back.
I'd be honored.
That would be great to do maybe a workshop on Clockwork. I know a lot of people be interested in that. I mean, tier 3 Mike, I mean, is there anything I thought, any other questions or thoughts? What do you think?
So now Bryan's he actually already bought 80 books to give to his clients and prospects.
I'm honored. Thank you.
With that. So I think that was a great idea.
Thanks, Bryan.
That we can do. But no, I mean, so my question, so I'm a big podcast guy, Mike, and like, I first heard you in 2017. I was looking this up because it was Ryan Lee was the first podcast. Like your podcast was wild then. You had like the Alaskan lumberjacker. You had some crazy lumberjack character on who would like tell jokes or something like that.
I don't remember. I used to horse around so much with him. Yeah.
But Ryan Lee's was hilarious with that. But then I looked you up like a year ago, and now I see like 4 or 5 like. There seems to be a bunch of podcasts around profit first. There's like one for real estate. There's one for this. I think some other people run some of them. You've got a new, or it was new at the time I looked it up. So what's that like? Well, what are you doing with podcasts these days?
Oh, so it's interesting. We ran the analytics and the math didn't support having my own podcast. We were getting more lead opportunities, more exposure on other people's podcasts. So I actually retired my own podcast about a year ago, but we inspired all these derivatives. So there's derivative books. There's I think 10 different profit first books in circulation for communities, and people have started their own podcasts. So we have Profit First Nation that's hosted by someone, and we have Profit First for real estate investors, and it goes on and on. It's actually amplified our exposure. And then I get the simple privilege of just appearing every so often and say, hey, it's Mike. How are you? And I'm back out, and that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, if you ever get bored and you want to start a podcast with me, maybe we could do something crazy. Who knows? That would be, I don't know, it might be weird.
You heard it here first.
It might be weird. I don't know. I'd bring you down to like
you. Yeah, it's just you humiliating me. It's called humiliating Mike. Humiliating tier 2 Mike.
You'd be tier 2 Mike then. Yeah.
I am tier 2. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I don't know.
I want to be in tier 1.
I think you are tier 1. I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
I think you're tier 1. I don't know. I mean, I think if you look at, I don't know what your definition, I guess, I don't know. Is there like a chart? This is something you've made up, right?
I made up.
Oh, okay. So yeah. All right. I think you're tier 1. So
I think the podcast name is Humiliating Mike, and you just insult me, shame me. I remember once, Mike, I was at Robin's office. This is like 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, I know what you're going to tell him. I know. I already know. Go ahead, tell him. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to tell him. If you shut up for a second. I go to Robin. I'm like, hey, we just surpassed $1 million in the Profit First division, the consultants. And she goes, oh, that's cute. and then spits on me and just walks by.
I did not spit on you.
Well, no,
that was funny though. The look on you.
Yeah. General direction. Yeah. Sit on the floor.
It was funny. All right. I mean, it was kind of funny.
Very funny.
Yeah. I mean, I know who I can mess around with. So,
No, I loved it actually. I think it's funny. I think it's cool.
And then you went in the bathroom and cried, and I had to
I know.
All right. I'm sorry. You're a tier 2.
And Robin said she had a similar thing, that the interest from her bank account for the company did hit $1 million that month for the first time. So
the interest, right? Exactly.
Yeah, it was 0.5%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Keep trying.
Oh,
so cute. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. I think we're done. I mean, unless, you can think of anything else, other insults and things.
No, we got a ton of people saying, bring him as a speaker. We'd love to do the workshop.
There you go.
So you got tons of fans here. So obviously knew that, Jason just said Pumpkin Plan is great. So I just purchased Clockwork.
Buy 5, buy 10, buy 5. And give them away as Christmas gifts. Give them to your employees.
I would be honored if that's.
Say to your employees.
Thank you.
Get rid of me.
Definitely give it to your employees. There's a section. Every chapter has a section for employees.
Yeah.
And it's to empower them. So thank you.
100%. All right, cool. All right. You're awesome. You know that. I
awesome.
give you shit, but I love you.
Even I totally love you. I think you're the best. I really do. So have a good weekend.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
See y'all.
See ya. All right. Bye now.